Hello, everyone. How are you? And welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to address another very important aspect of basic medicine. I'm planning to record a number of videos that are dedicated to the topic of pharmacology and therapeutics. But I thought an important introduction to such topics should be understanding how medications work. How do medicine and drugs exert their action within our bodies? So let's dive in and try to understand such a topic. I will try to be very simple in my explanation. I will not make it harder on you. And understand that biology is connected. And most of the biological mechanisms that we study in medicine are actually applicable to other species as well. So, for example, the cell membrane, our cell membrane, is a common feature in all higher animals. They all have well-formed cells, and cells are surrounded by cell membranes. And basically, these cell membrane function in the same manner as our cell membrane. So these biological mechanisms and knowledge is shared among other species, but of course, our focus is on the human body. Okay? Okay, so let's try to address some basic information about medications and how they exert their action within our body. First of all, we need to understand that medications or drugs, the ones that we use day in and day out in our practice, are considered foreign substances to our body. Yes, there are some medicines that are very close to substances we produce naturally, like insulin, for example. Insulin is a naturally occurring substance that's produced throughout the day within our bodies, and we use it as a drug to replace those who are unable or incapable of producing it. So it's a replacement therapy. But most of the other drugs or medications are chemicals, either produced from natural sources or synthesized chemically in a laboratory to exert some effects within our cells, tissues, and organs. And the way they exert these actions, which of course we intend it to be a desirable action. We want to improve the health of our patients. So we are looking for a desirable effect, improvement in the symptoms, improvement in the pathology. Okay? So these drugs, which by the way, another term for them, since they are foreign substances and foreign chemicals to our bodies, we can call them xenobiotics. That's another term that can be used, which is foreign substance that can exert a biochemical or a biological effect. Anyway, that's not necessary. Let's go back to how do they affect our bodies. People need to understand that we have innate, naturally occurring mechanisms that are already existing, and they are controlling our different biochemical processes that actually control what we do biologically, and keep us alive and keep us healthy and all this. These mechanisms are the targets for these medications and drugs. What are they? Some of them are the receptors. And receptors are basically, these are molecules that are present either on the surface of the cells or inside the cells. And they are activated by certain molecules that attach themselves to them and start a cascade of responses. Okay? The molecules that actually activate or affect or impact the function of these receptors, whether they will enhance their effect or stimulate it or inhibit it, are called ligands. And these ligands, if they are actually stimulating the cell and causing it to function more or to start functioning, we call them agonists. These ligands are called agonists. Okay? And these can be naturally produced in your body, or they can be drugs. Drug can act as a ligand. Okay? If it's fully activating the receptor, then it's an agonist. If it's partially activating it, it's a partial agonist. If it's blocking it from acting, it's an antagonist. So this ligand, which can be a naturally occurring, of course, each receptor has a naturally occurring ligand. Whether we know it or not, it should be. Since we have a receptor, most likely there is a naturally occurring ligand present somewhere. But the other types of ligands is these medications that we give. And depending on how strong the affinity between the receptor and the ligand and how strong the response to the presence of that ligand, we can classify it into agonist, partial agonist, or partial antagonist, or antagonist. Okay? Antagonists basically bind to the receptor, but they don't trigger any response. And when you bind to the receptor, not triggering any response, you are blocking other ligands or agonists from actually using that receptor. That's why they are called antagonists. Yeah? Okay. So this is one way that we can actually modify the function of cells, the biochemical processes within the cells. What other targets that are naturally occurring and they are present and they are fair game for medications or drugs? Enzymes. Enzymes, again, are proteins. Okay? And these proteins, they catalyze or enhance the speed of biochemical reactions. Okay? When there is an enzyme, the reaction goes 1,000 times faster than without an enzyme. Okay? So they are catalysts. Catalysts. The catalyst is some helper or some enhancer of something. Okay? Okay. So these enzymes can be either induced, meaning we make more of that enzyme to enhance a certain biochemical process, or inhibited, meaning we stop producing that enzyme and basically the biochemical process that's dependent on that enzyme will stop or get very slow. Okay, so you either affect the production of the enzyme or the activity of the enzyme, because some enzymes are present, physically present, but they cannot be active unless modified somehow. Proenzymes or something, they need activation. So you either impact the activity or you impact the production of that enzyme. Okay. And other targets include ion channels and transporters. If you remember from basic biology, when we studied the cell, we knew about the properties of the cell membrane. The cell membrane has specific properties that allows it to kind of act as a gatekeeper of the cell. Okay? It's semi-permeable. It doesn't allow everything to go in. It allows some substances through very specific mechanisms. And some of these mechanisms are the ion channels. These are gaps within the cell membrane that close and open to allow the passage of certain minerals or electrolytes, like calcium channels, sodium channels, potassium channels. And because these electrolytes are charged, their movement across the membrane, utilizing these very specialized channels, impacts the action potential of the cell. And so many cells actually exert their function through changes in action potential. Cardiac muscle cells, neuronal cells, okay? Regular skeletal, musculoskeletal, the skeletal cells, and so many other cells. Their function depends on the action potential changes. And the action potential across the membrane is generated and produced through the utilization of these ion channels. Okay, so what are the transporters? Transporters are similar in idea because transporters are these proteins which are embedded within the membrane or present close to the cell membrane, and their function is to transport substances across the membrane. Okay, for example, neurotransmitters to travel across the membrane, and this should be a very quick process. Things like dopamine, serotonin, any other neurotransmitter, they should be able to cross the cell membrane very quickly, either to be released or to be taken up by the postsynaptic membrane. The transport of these neurotransmitters can be impacted by medications. For example, we have a class of medicines called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These are very famous antidepressant and anti-anxiety medications. They function through modulating these transporters. Okay, so these are another target for medications and a mechanism of action for a group of medications. Okay, there is something called signal transduction pathways. And this is mostly a mechanism of communication between cells or between the cells and the external world. Basically, the signal transduction is a cascade of events or a series of events that happen after you kind of stimulate a receptor or something. And the famous pathways, this transduction pathways, is the G protein pathways. Okay, second messengers. Okay, these are considered second messengers, and they function by transmitting the fact that a receptor has been stimulated to the interior of the cell, and at the end, the transduction is the transmission of that pathway, or that pathway stimulated with a cascade of events that end up by modifying actually gene expression and cell function. So these are, again, fair game for drug actions. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, in this video, people, they don't need to panic when they come up to a chapter called mechanism of action of drugs. Yes, it's maybe so many actions, maybe 10 to 15 ways that medications can exert their effects. But just remember, these are things you studied in biochemistry, you studied in biology in general, and we are, as providers and physicians and medical professionals, we are making use of these pre-existing mechanisms and modifying them by using medications or foreign substances to the body. These are the medications. Okay? Okay. So the mechanism of action can be through the receptors, through the enzymes, through the ion channels, and through protein transporters. And in each case, we either enhance the effect or inhibit it or suppress it. Okay? That receptor could be stimulated or inhibited and blocked. Okay? So medications manipulate these cascades to adjust how cells respond. And we are actually leveraging these pre-existing pathways and impacting a lot of mechanisms to produce a desired effect. Okay? Now, in medicine in general, what is happening is we have very specific targets that people can make use of and target by using biological substances, very specific molecules to target a specific molecule, like in the cancer research, for example. Now we have very specific medications. And when you have very specific medicine that goes directly to the target molecule, you have less side effects and better responsiveness. And that's where we are heading with a lot of medicines in a lot of fields. But the cancer treatment field is maybe the most advanced so far, and most of the advances are in this area. The other area is the biologically active molecules that impact inflammatory conditions that were very difficult to treat in the past. Things like rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel diseases. We are using biological agents to treat them. And in the past, we were using half-hearted medications. We call them disease modifying, but actually they were not that good. Okay. In summary, our bodies already have built-in naturally occurring processes that perform vital biochemical functions. They are there for that purpose. Medications and drugs are designed to interact with these pre-existing mechanisms. We are not creating new mechanisms. We are using these pre-existing mechanisms, and they act as modulators. Okay, to modulate is to change, guiding receptors, enzymes, ion channels, transporters, and signaling pathways toward a targeted effect. Whether that can be relieving pain, reducing inflammation, or restoring balance. Understanding these concepts helps demystifying how treatment works and reinforces the idea that the amazing machinery within us is always at work. And of course, it works to maintain our homeostasis and balance. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more insights into the science and of health and medicine. And remember, we are going to continue to talk about pharmacology, and I'm planning to have more of these videos to explain certain important aspects of pharmacology, which I think are very important as a basic or a basis behind understanding therapeutics and treatment. I'm Dr. Sara Ahmed, and I appreciate you being with me today. I hope to see you in other videos, and appreciate you.